I am bitching about all of the backlash toward the ice cream company Ben & Jerry's for deciding to not sell its products in the occupied territories in Israel, Palestine. And they're doing so as part of the boycott, divestment, sanctions movement, BDS, which once again is a nonviolent call to action from Palestinian civil society, asking the world to try and bring pressure on the Israeli government to stop encroaching on Palestinian land and, yes, to end the occupation of the territories that it seized after the 1967 war. What are those territories, right? West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Gaza Strip, and the Golan Heights. Probably never going to happen, but you never know. These, by the way, are territories of the United Nations, you know, that sort of left-wing Antifa bastion of anti-Semites, has also deemed illegal. These are illegal settlements. In fact, the entire world has condemned the occupation except for United States and Israel. So, of course, there's been a total, complete, ridiculous backlash. And I know it seems weird, right? It seems like, man, what else are they doing? Like, what's actually in fish food, you know, for them to be so upset about this? And I think it truly is because Israel sees the writing on the wall when it comes to their crimes, when it comes to their illegal occupation, and when it comes to more and more them showing their hand as to they have no interest in a peace process. They have no interest in stopping settlements that continue to encroach on Palestinian land. They have no interest in taking anything that the international community says seriously, or let alone bodies like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and the like. And they know that. And so, yes, Chunky Monkey is triggering them. And the backlash has been so breathless, really. So Naftali Bennett, the new prime minister, is swearing there'll be big consequences. And like, I'm super psyched for Mossad's next op to be like scrambling the recipe to, you know, Cherry Garcia or whatever. Like, no, you took the worst one. We don't need Cherry Garcia. It's kind of gross. Let's be real. But like, what are the consequences going to be? I'm very curious. But of course, there's been backlash in the United States, always interestingly, from the most right-wing governors and politicians in the country. It's kind of like, you know, there's an alliance between the Israeli right and the American right. So Ron DeSantis of Florida and Greg Abbott of Texas are saying that they will try and ban the states from investing in Ben & Jerry's or its parent company, Unilever. They want to add them to a list of companies who won't be able to renew their contracts with the state. Now, mind you, there is a list of companies who are being boycotted for boycotting Israel. Let me say that again. People who are being put on a list for putting Israel on a list of people who are boycotted. So there's lists upon lists upon lists. This is, remember, the far right that thinks that everything is cancel culture except when it comes to Israel, Palestine, right? So 30 states currently have laws on the books preventing their pension funds from being invested in companies that refuse to do business with the Jewish state of Israel. So essentially, you have to do business with Israel? Like, what do we mean? You have to be invested? And if you don't, no, it's anti-Semitic and you must be put on our list, right? So it seems silly, but Ben & Jerry's is going out on a limb here. They really are. And look, it is not the biggest limb, right? They obviously are still selling inside of 1948, inside the state of Israel. And that's important because Israel's reaction shows that they see no difference between their illegal settlements and the West Bank and Israel proper. And the way that they conflate it all allows them to use the narrative of anti-Semitism and, trying to so-called push Jews into the sea to their benefit. So if you're against the occupation, if you support Ben & Jerry's, well, then you're immediately for the eradication of the Israeli state altogether, which is utter BS. We know that to be a BS line, right? But they like that. They want it to be conflated together. They don't want to see these entities and their different land as separate, right? And they've successfully bullied companies into backtracking on their attempts to boycott. So Airbnb, right? Once again, like super progressive, just like, no, we don't lead to gentrification in cities all across the United States. Even Airbnb, who is lacking in morals, was bullied into retracting its statement that said it wouldn't offer rentals in the occupied territories, right? You should see some of these rentals that they're renting. But they look like you can rent like the manger that Jesus was born in. Shit is crazy. It's like very Old Testament and also like very much was someone else's land. So the last thing I'll say on this is we know that the backlash to BDS is a way to stop any kind of resistance, peaceful resistance to the occupation. Because according to the Israeli government, there is no acceptable form of resistance. And that's a question I ask everyone. What is the acceptable form of resistance to the occupation, if not a nonviolent boycott? It worked in South Africa against the apartheid regime. It worked in the South in many ways against segregationist states and Jim Crow. And Israel knows that, right? And that's why they're triggered by an ice cream company. And, look, they open fire on kids who throw rocks, right? And then, of course, they're against rockets, as I think many of us are, not necessarily in favor of rockets flying into Israel, right? But in the Israeli government's mind, it's all the same. And BDS might as well be a rocket to them. And the Senate in the United States and the Congress in the United States have both passed measures supported by people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, sadly, bullying them and saying that, yes, BDS is wrong, that we condemn BDS. We condemn boycotting and divesting and sanctioning. Now, I don't think that, Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders are terrible people for going along with that, but I do think it shows you the power of the Israeli lobby, the power of this issue, and the fact that the writing is absolutely on the wall when it comes to this, and that BDS is something we should support, we should stand behind, and we should try and cajole the different institutions that we also are involved in to get involved. And I know that's all very serious. So we've developed a new line of ice cream for Israel. Once it does boycott fully Ben & Jerry's and takes it off the shelves of even stores inside 48, like what kind of ice cream are they going to replace it with? Becca Roofer, my producer, and I, we came up with a few good like options, some good flavors. So we've got Choccupation. It's very yummy. Choccupation, Settlement, love Settlement. BD Espresso, I actually love BD Espresso, not late at night. Appleapartheid, that works-ish. And here's my last one. This is the nerdiest one. The Osdo Accord. It's pretty good, though. Actually, it's terrible. In fact, you'll never eat ice cream again. It's pretty much the end of all ice creams. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/Bitchuation Room. Do it.